Hello viewers, welcome to our channel. In our previous videos, we discussed the characteristics of a good test and came to know that a good test should have characteristics such as reliability, validity, objectivity, norms, practicability and comprehensiveness. Then we studied validity and its types in detail. Now in this video, we'll discuss reliability and types of reliability in detail so that we can understand its importance and apply this knowledge when we construct a test. The dictionary meaning of reliability is the quality of being trustworthy or of performing consistently well. We often use the word reliability in our daily life. For example, we say things like, "Don't tell your secrets to that girl, she's not reliable at all." Or, "Don't check the time on that clock, it's not reliable." Or we say, "It's not advisable to invest your money in that bank, it's not reliable." So, when do we consider something to be reliable? Obviously, when it has consistency or stability. This means we can trust a particular thing and be assured that it would never change and will always remain the same. So whenever we construct a test or measurement tool, our first objective is to ensure that the test measures the same thing that we wanted to measure. This means that if we have constructed the test to check attitude of a person towards something, then it should check attitude only and not interest. We refer to this as the validity of the test and we have already discussed it in detail in our previous video. The second objective of a test is that it should have consistency. This means that no matter how many times the test is administered on an individual or a group of individuals, the scores obtained by them should remain the same or almost the same each time. So, the degree of consistency of a measure is called reliability. Let's understand it with an example. If we measure the length or breadth of a table using a measuring tape multiple times, the result comes out to be the same each time we measure it. Even if we measure it after 20-25 days with the same measuring tape, we'll get the same result. So, this means that the measuring tape has consistency and we can say that it is reliable. If we want to check the weight of a metal box, we will use a weighing machine. If the weighing machine shows the same weight each time we keep the metal box on it, then the machine is reliable. But suppose the first time it showed up the weight of the box as 18 kg and the second time as 14 kg, then the weighing machine is not reliable since it does not have consistency and it is showing different weight each time. According to Anne Anastasi, reliability refers to the consistency of scores obtained by the same individuals when re-examined with the same test on different occasions or with different sets of equivalent items or under other variable examining conditions. It means that if an individual has scored 75 marks out of 100 marks on one occasion on a particular test, then if that test is administered on him or her on some other occasion, even then if he obtains same marks, that is 75 marks or anything close to it such as 78 marks or 71 marks, then the test would be called reliable. But if the difference in the marks is too much, then we cannot call it a reliable test. So, a test would be called a reliable test when it will give same repeated results under the same conditions. But in behavioral sciences, psychologists attempt to measure complex constructs such as intelligence, personality, adjustment, aptitude, etc., in which there can be a lot of variation and we cannot be sure that we'll get the exact same result on the second administration of the same test, which we got when we administered the test for the first time. But if the tests which are developed to measure these constructs gave different results at different occasions, then the test would not be considered as worthwhile. So, the people who are using these tests or tools must ensure that the test has consistency in it. it is seen that measurement always involves some errors. These errors are of two types: random errors and systematic errors. Random errors are those errors that happen by chance. These errors can increase or decrease the score of an individual in an unpredictable manner. Systematic errors are those errors that can increase or decrease the scores of a group in a predictable way. The problems in reliability are caused by random errors, and the problems in validity are caused by systematic errors. Because we are discussing reliability in this video, we'll only talk about random errors. Random errors that affect the consistency of scores originate in three ways. The first reason could be that the errors are caused by the individuals on which the test is being administered. This could happen if the individual was completely fine the first time he took the test. But when he took the test the second time, he was unwell, or the first time the individual was in a good mood, while the next time the individual took the test, he was in a bad mood. This may affect the result, and it is possible that it does not come out to be the same as the first time. In the same way, interest, motivation and fatigue are some of the many reasons that can have an effect on the scores. The second reason could be that the test is correct, but the person who is administering the test on the group of individuals is inexperienced. And if he does not give the instructions properly, the scores can get affected. There can also be a problem in calculating the scores. The conditions under which the test is being administered, such as the lighting, heat and ventilation of the place, can also have an effect on the scores. The third reason could be that there is an error in the instrument. Length of the test may be an important reason for unreliability. If the test is very short, there is a chance that students who know very few answers get all the answers correct, whereas students who have more knowledge of that particular subject but don't know those specific answers may get low scores. Suppose if a test has been constructed to check how well the students know the atomic weight of all the 118 chemical elements. But if there are only 5 questions given in the test, there is a possibility that the student who knows the weight of only 10 elements gets all the answers right, whereas the students who know the atomic weight of the remaining 108 elements get all the answers wrong. So, luck matters a lot in the short test. There are many such things that can affect scores. So, reliability is concerned with the effect that these random errors have on the consistency of the scores. It is generally believed that there is always some error in the measurement of human behavior or qualities. Even though scientists can't remove these errors, they have some techniques using which they can calculate the total error in the scores. Reliability procedures determine the degree up to which the inconsistency and variations are caused in scores due to random errors. The reliability of a test is generally expressed by a reliability coefficient, which is denoted by a small r. It ranges from 0 to 1. A test developer generally tries to establish 3 types of reliability. First one is reliability in the form of consistency or stability. Second is reliability in the form of equivalence. And third is reliability in the form of internal consistency. But if we do the critical analysis of all these 3 types of reliabilities, then it won't take us much time in understanding that actually there are only 2 types of reliabilities instead of these 3 types. Out of these 2 types, one is concerned with the consistency or stability of the test results and the other is concerned with the internal consistency. The reliability established in the form of equivalence is nothing else but an effort to display consistency or stability of the measurement only. So we can say that reliability is broadly classified into 2 types: reliability in terms of stability and reliability in terms of internal consistency. There are two main methods of establishing reliability in terms of stability, which are test-retest method and parallel or equivalent forms method. There are three important methods of establishing reliability in terms of internal consistency, which are split half method, Kudor-Richardson formula, KR20 and KR21, and Cronbach alpha method. So let's see them one by one. The first one is test-retest reliability. It is the extent to which the results of the test are consistent over time. As is evident from its name, to establish reliability using this method, the same test is administered more than once on the same group of individuals. Let's try to understand this with an example. Suppose a researcher has constructed a questionnaire to measure IQ. He administers it on a group of individuals and obtains some scores. Then after some time gap, say after 14-15 days, the researcher administers the test again on the same group of individuals in the same conditions as the first time the test was administered. The researcher obtains some scores again. Then the researcher checks the correlation between the two sets of scores. If the correlation is high, then the IQ test made by the researcher is reliable. Otherwise, if the correlation is low, then the test is not reliable. The coefficient of correlation obtained by this procedure is called a test-retest reliability coefficient, since it indicates consistency of subjects' scores over time. It is also referred to as a coefficient of stability. So remember this thing. It can be asked in the exam that which coefficient of reliability is called as coefficient of stability. So your answer should be test-retest reliability coefficient. Test-retest reliability is important because there are many factors that can affect the result when the researcher administers the test the second time, such as mood, motivation, external conditions, etc. Test-retest reliability is used to assess how much a method can resist these factors over a period of time. If we talk about the merits of this method, we can say that this method is very simple. In this method, the researcher does not have to make any parallel or equivalent forms and just has to administer the same test in the same conditions as the first time and on the same group of individuals. This method is more useful in establishing the reliability of such things which remain relatively stable over the time. But this method has some limitations also. Since for estimating reliability by this method, the test has to be administered twice, there is a possibility that test scores of retest get affected by the factors such as practice, memory, or maturation. The interest and motivation of the individual may also affect the result. If the time interval between the test and the retest is too less, then memory can affect the scores of retest. The individual may mark the answers in the same way as they had marked before just because they remember marking. And if it is too long, then maturation can affect the results. This is why the gap between the test and the retest should neither be too long nor be too short. A time interval of 14-15 days would be adequate. Another method is parallel or equivalent forms method. Some of the difficulties which a researcher faces at the time of estimating reliability of the test by using test-retest method can be overcome by this method. For example, when there is the probability that the subjects will recall their responses to the test items, then the researcher prefers to use this method. In this method, the researcher uses equivalent forms technique to estimate the reliability of the test. It is also referred to as alternate forms technique or parallel forms technique. In this method, the researcher makes two alternate forms of the test. Instead of administering the same test on the same group of individuals twice, the researcher administers these two alternate forms of the test on the same group of individuals. Then, the researcher checks the correlation between the two sets of the results obtained. The administration of the alternate or parallel or equivalent form can be done in two ways. Suppose a researcher administers the first form on the group of individuals and he gets some scores. Now, immediately after it, he administers the second form of the test on the same individuals. He gets some scores again. Now, he checks the correlation between the scores obtained on both the forms. If the value of the coefficient is high, the test is reliable. The coefficient resulting from this method is called coefficient of equivalence. So remember this thing, that it is called the coefficient of equivalence when the second form is administered on the group in immediate succession. By this method, variation in the performance of same group of individuals from one set of items to another set of items can be estimated. But in case the researcher administers first form on one occasion, he gets some scores. Then he administers the equivalent or parallel form on some other occasion or after some time gap, and again he gets some scores, and then he correlates these scores. Then the coefficient obtained by this method is called coefficient of stability and equivalence. What is it called? Coefficient of stability and equivalence. Because the coefficient obtained using this method reflects two different aspects of reliability. The first one is the variation in performance from one time to another, as we also check by test-retest method, and the second is the variation in performance from the first form to the second form of the test. If the coefficient of stability and equivalence is high, that means that both forms measure the same skills and there is consistency even though there is a time difference. It is a huge challenge for a researcher to make two equivalent forms that measure the same construct. The alternate forms of tests that are independently constructed have to be the same in all aspects. For example, the difficulty level should be exactly the same. The instructions given, the time limit, the format, and the content of both the forms of the test should also be the same. Ideally, the researcher should construct two similar items and place them in two different forms. For example, if it is a maths test, then if form A asks how much is 2 plus 3, then form B should ask how much is 4 plus 5. In the same way, if it is a test on world geography, then if form A asks the question, what is the currency of US? Then the second form should ask the question, what is the currency of UK? The distribution of the test scores should also be the same. The alternate or parallel forms technique is used when the researcher wants to avoid the effect of memory and practice, or when the researcher has many questions from which items for two forms can easily be selected. It is generally considered by the researchers that for academic and psychological tests, parallel forms method is the best method to estimate reliability. Another type of reliability measure is internal consistency or homogeneity testing measure of reliability. There are three important methods which can be used to estimate internal consistency of the tests. We'll discuss about these methods in our next video. The link of our next video is given in the description below. Please do watch it. If you like this video, then don't forget to hit the like button and share this video with your friends. And please subscribe to our channel if you have not subscribed it yet. Meet you in the next video. Till then, goodbye. Thanks for watching.